देखो सीखो कितनी किताबें पढ़ी मैं ही शौक में चली गई थी when I उत्तराखंड को ना बदनाम कीजिए हम उत्तराखंड की बाउंड्रीज बंद कर देंगे.
Yeah, I know. The moment I see that, the moment I see that marker there, it's very unnerving.
Not every media person has that ability. When did this start? This entire thing, journey.
This is my first book, so I'll be very honest that first book of any author is actually the product of his lifetime.
Do you think in today's times media has been made irrelevant because of its own doing?
Yes, it has. In fact, ये किसी का सगा नहीं है.
An article criticizing Modi does gets more virality than something that appreciates him.
Yeah, it does.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That Modi ji to interviews नहीं देते, media interviews नहीं face करते. Run his own radio channel by which he reaches out to millions of Indians who are not elite. Through his Man Ki Baat.
Some section are selectively quoting and bringing out that, oh, he doesn't talk to media. Does Sonia Gandhi ever talk to media? I will not buy the argument some sections say that Nehru was anti-India. He loved this country. He genuinely loved this country. But his ideas were so flawed that even if he loved, it harmed.
Okay.
In fact, on social media, Rahul Gandhi has the maximum following right now. Whatever he does, following doesn't mean that. In fact, of late I have been introduced to Instagram. Some of the most inane and stupid things people do, they get maximum followers. So that's not a guarantee, please.
That could land you in. India has also in a lot of ways started to set examples when it comes to diplomacy. There are segments where, you'll feel that everything is falling apart. डेमोक्रेसी खतरे में ही नहीं है, किल हो गई है.
नमस्कार दोस्तों, क्या हमारा देश तानाशाही की ओर गिरता जा रहा है?
उत्तिष्ठ भारत प्राप्य वरान्न बोध. Arise, awake and strive for knowledge. Welcome to a new episode of the Indic Pen Uttisht Bharata series. Today we have with us one of the most Bharatiya voices in media, Utpal Kumar. He has 20 years, almost 2 decades of experience in media. So I'm not wrong at saying that he has seen both the regimes for one entire decade. And Utpal is a dear friend. Utpal is one of the quietest, the silent warriors that I've seen and observed for the last 2 decades of my own work experience and being associated with him. His book, Bharat Rising, as we speak, has gone in for a second reprint within 2.5 months of its publishing, given the fact that anybody who's into reading and wants to know which books to read on dharma, democracy and diplomacy, you must read this book. It is going to give you a concise information into also the kind of books from all spectrums of ideologies to read in order to formulate your own thoughts. And that is exactly what makes it outshine the rest of the books written. Welcome, Utpal, to our show. I'm extremely nervous because this is the first time I'm talking to a hardcore media person. And I think the first time when I started reading this book, frankly, I was taken aback by the amount of knowledge that you have put in there. I mean, it's beyond belief that it needs many lifetimes to read so many books, and not just read them, but also to be able to extract the elixir from each of these books and put it out in a form which makes sense is something only an expert eye can do. And I think that is where your training as a media personnel does come into play. But not every media person has that ability. Where from does that entire thing about the number of books that you've read and researched for this book started? When did this start, this entire thing, journey?
First of all, thank you. Thank you for such a wonderful introduction. I'm totally, really grateful for that. And I really look forward to to coming here and talking to you, because I know how much effort you put before conducting an interview. Coming to the book, this is my first book, so I'll be very honest that first book of any author is actually the product of his lifetime. So I am now almost 44 years old, So you can say that almost like 2 decades of my entire education, my studies, my research, in some way, my experiences, in some way has come into this book. Also, this book, that's why I put my, I've given and dedicated this book to my parents. This book wouldn't have come into existence without my parents, especially my father. My father was an academician. He died just before COVID. The love for book, which I have, I got it from him.
This is so similar. My love for books came from my father.
Yeah. And I remember in my college time, and that's why, yesterday I went to one of the college for a talk. And I told the young kids that, please, go to Barista, have a coffee. But sometime, don't go there and buy one book by saving some money. And I used to do that when I was in college, I made a habit.
You used to save your pocket money.
Yes, I still managed to get 2,500 rupees at that time. And I had to ensure that, by 1900 to 2000, I would spend and 500 I would save.
Nice.
And I have to go and buy a book. One book. Sorry. One book a month. And that habit remained. I still buy. In fact, though I've been a books editor for the last almost 15 years in different publications, but still, that bad habit remains that, when I see a book, I just buy. I go to a bookstore and I just can't resist myself to just buy a couple of books. So that has, even if I don't read all of them, and I've realized, book is such a company that even if
an infectious company.
Yeah, infectious company. Even if it doesn't attract you then, sometime will come back.
True.
A few years later. And some of the books, I bought some 10 years back, and while researching for this book, I went there. So it's one investment which never goes dry.
Oh,
it's always. So that has helped me in that way. It's a combination of many factors. But this book is largely, I started structuring the book about a year and a half back. When, I saw a huge, gap between, the reality and the perception about Naya Bharat. And the gap was so much. Like one side will say that, everything is so great, this country is moving ahead, civilizationally we are awakening. So the gap was so much since 2014 that I thought, I should address that. And being in journalism, that was the advantage I had. I could see that, that how things were being manipulated by certain quarters, how narratives were being driven by certain vested elements. And that's why, in this book you see, when you go to notes part, you'll see that, I've taken, I've quoted liberally from all sections of people, from the ideologies I believe in, people I don't believe in also. I've quoted them so that it becomes a balanced book, and it presents a picture that largely tells a thing which is there on the ground. And my conclusion is, I'll never deny that. My conclusion is that the Naya Bharat is has seen the deepening of democracy rather than a slight towards authoritarianism, as some people will want us to believe. There is more space for voices. I see in media also, and a lot of we see articles saying that that press freedom is shrinking. There is attack on press freedom. I believe that in the last 10 years. There are a lot more voices, diverse voices in media for the first time. It was never the case. It was more like a closed house with only few people writing, and others are not allowed to get in there. Today, you see a lot more voices, and different voices of different ideologies. So it's a very welcome thing. It's actually one thing where I genuinely agree with Amartya Sen. Apart from his economy, I am a huge fan of his economic work. But apart from economic, in the last few years, he has worked on everything except economy. And I believe when he says that India is a very argumentative society, last 10 years we see that we have truly become one.
Yeah.
We have an argumentative society, and we are very, we are loving that part. So I thought in this book is an attempt to bring that nature, that facet forward.
I think a lot has to do with the advent of social media also, because it allows you that platform to let out your arguments.
Yes.
But you made some very interesting observations, and I'm glad that you brought in this insight about how if you look at it, it's a truly free media that we are seeing. And since you have a media background, media is, that's what we, the common people, are told is the fourth pillar of democracy. And while there are hit jobs, as we call it, done both in the Western press, also in the media here, which try to portray or throw a negative light on how everything is not right, and whatever is being portrayed by the current regime is a kind of everybody's under a frenzy and they're not realizing what mess they are in. My first question in this particular aspect is, and the fact that, when we talk about media, what went wrong in order for media to be as objective as you have been able to in this book? Media was always trained to report or assimilate information and put it across to its people by being objective and listening to all sides, right? But somewhere down the line, media got too involved with the politics. And that's where the problem started. That's where the clout of the Lutyens Delhi that you've mentioned has started. Do you think in today's times, media has been made irrelevant because of its own doing?
Yes, it has. In fact, you can't really, some way, media is also responsible for that. Some way it's not also responsible. Like social media is not the work of, the mainstream media. It came. But I must say, thankfully, thank God it came. Because today, even if you don't, even if someone wants to control your voices, they can't be controlled. So it's a very good, development for democracy, for free voices. And I believe that, all government, all politicians will want to control power. Whichever party it might be, that's the nature. That's the nature of the beast. So they will want to control. But today's world is not possible. Even if, like for instance, Modi government is there for 10 years, you see any mistake they do, and people tend to say that that social media is pro BJP, pro Modi. But see the kind of backlash they get. They get very personal. So that's the nature of this business. Ye kisi ka saga nahi hai. And here, people are, since it gives you anonymity, so people are actually very honest about saying what they want to say. Sometimes it can be very, not pleasant to your ears, but that's the truth. I'm still willing to, have social media strengthened, even if, I'm criticized 1,000 times every day for what I do and what I don't do. But coming to media, media largely is not just Indian phenomena. Globally also, media has worked like that. Look, for instance, I'll give you the great, Western example. Ukraine war. Ukraine war has happened. Did you not feel that, Western media has behaved like an extended arm of the state, Western state? Right. It acted like that. It never reached out even to hear the voice of Russians. It never approached, except for one journalist. It never approached, Putin for an interview, as if, that all the entire truth lies in the Western hemisphere, and Russians are the advocate, the empire of devil. So that's because, media can tend to behave like that. Mainstream media, I'm saying.
Do you think it has come from a Marxist or communist training of media, that it has always been, while it is supposed to be talking truth to power, so to say, what they claim to be doing, but the talking truth to power is always one-sided for them. They like having villains, and they like to portray them in such a way where they can sell their stories. Do you think it is something that is affecting?
I would like to believe that. Being, somebody
because today I feel that an article criticizing Modi gets more virality than, something that appreciates him.
Yeah, it does.
So it has become a kind of a tool as well. But in this situation, Utpal, how do you think, and especially, I would also like to touch upon this fact that while Congress was quite deeply entrenched with the media, I would not be wrong in saying that in bed with media also at times, this regime do you think has been able to make inroads? Because that's been a 50, 65 years of association. They've literally nurtured some people, to do that job. But do you think this has happened in...
Not exactly. And I'll tell you the reason for that.
Why do you think they've failed in building a network that helps them push their narratives?
See, one thing is also lack of, their interest in doing that. I felt in some quarters, not all quarters, some quarters. They don't need it. Sometimes, you get that feel that, with social media there, they believe that, that they can just ignore mainstream media. That kind of perception is there. Partly it's also because of the way mainstream media, some section have behaved. It's also partly that. It's also as a kind of backlash of how, for say from 2002 to 2014, how media has hounded one person in name of one riot, as if there were no other riots in this country. It may be because there a kind of backlash for that, but media has been uncharitable, unduly uncharitable. So that kind of thing might be there in the back of the mind. That is there. But, the larger issue why this government has not been able to crack the code. Because you don't create loyalties in one day.
Correct.
And
but they've been in power for 10 years.
10 years. But then...
So that is one failure, I think, that...
No, so that the part of failure is also they're not convinced enough to reach out and create their ecosystem, because they're still not very... they're not comfortable with that, mainstream media per se.
But
especially
in the
English.
book you also share that this was not, while Vajpayee ji also comes from the same party, it was not like that with him. He was quite...
That's why I'm saying that 2014. Before 2014 is a different ball game. And that's why I said that that's where I wrote a chapter. My introduction is about this Lutyens Delhi.
Right.
This media is largely governed by people from the Lutyens Delhi. Now these people will not set their loyalties in one day. And also they have crossed the line. Some of them crossed the line so much they can't go back. So it's a both way journey. Interestingly, this kind of thing happen in the West also. See, every country has their own elite system. It's not that India just had the Lutyens. Americans too had. In India, it's a very fascinating aspect that for 7 decades, their challenge was they were driven unchallenged. And even when they were non-BJP non-Congress government, like from 77 to 80, and then from 89 to 91, and after that 96 to 2004, they were non-Congress government were there. But these people were somehow very enamored by Lutyens Delhi. They wanted to seek legitimacy from these very people, including Atal Bihari Vajpayee. He was very comfortable with them, he used to charm them. So they thought that by doing that they will charm these people on their side, and that's why you see that getting Bharat Ratna to someone like Amartya Sen.
Right.
It happened. It
It
was more politics than the thing.
Absolutely.
But they thought by doing that they will charm them, but it doesn't happen that.
But don't you think even that is being tried even today? There are a lot of names that crop up for various awards which put you in a shock as to how they are being chosen.
But not in that scale, I'm saying. It's happening. But today, largely, you see that a bonding has been kind of created. And where, both sides have decided not to cross it, including Lutyens Delhi people, intellectuals, media people. I'm talking mainstream ones. The tallest figures. I won't name them, but... So, it is... And since 2014, this is for the first time. And that's what makes the Modi government very unique. That for the first time, he tried not to reach out to the elites, the traditional elites of this country. And this process has been there for the last 10 years. You may have some names here and there, but it has not come from the top. The recognition is... before that, when Vajpayee was there, this thing will come from the Vajpayee or PMO.
Oh, okay.
These things right now happening from, maybe happens from some culture ministry or some, here and there.
But not really coming from the top.
And Modi has per se, has ensured that last 10 years, he keeps a distance. I think he also understands the psyche and mindset of the new India, where, he doesn't want to be associated with elites anymore, and it works well for him.
And I think also, probably, correct me if I'm wrong, that this accusation that he faces that मोदी जी तो इंटरव्यूज नहीं देते, मीडिया इंटरव्यूज नहीं फेस करते, बट आई थिंक समवेयर ही इज कैटेगोरिकली एंड deliberately tried to stay away and run his own radio channel by which he reaches out to millions of Indians who are not elite through his Man Ki Baat, where he actually talks to them about subjects that they would like to hear and not really have media push it down their throats. So
see, I won't give much this thing to this. This is bunkum. This is actually again creating narrative. You read Taulin's book Darbar.
Oh yeah.
And you will know that in 1980s when Rajiv Gandhi was there, Prime Minister, same thing used to happen. They used to ask him question about आपको खाना क्या अच्छा लगता है, and those kind of things. And this extended even in the 2010s also, when one of our very prominent journalists asked Sonia Gandhi about how she behaves in in kitchen and how she cooks and all these things. So this has always happened. Now what is happening is some section are selectively quoting and bringing out that he doesn't talk to media. Does Sonia Gandhi ever talk to media? Give me one.
Not that I
never.
remember.
And she was the power.
Correct.
She was the actual power for 2004 to 14. Yes. She never talked to media and no one talked to raised a finger on her. So this has been the case. It doesn't matter. Like the other day I was talking, someone brought me about that आप तो बोलते हो कि गरीबों की सरकार है 10 लाख का सूट पहनते हैं. But how does it make a difference till the time he's not doing? That's his personal way of life.
Correct.
Did we ever go and check out how costly lifestyle was there of Rajiv Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi? No one questioned them because it was taken for granted. I
read it in your book that the friends of Rajiv Gandhi flew in and stayed for months in expensive hotels in London.
Taulin's book quoted her. And for not just that, we grew up. I'm sure when you must have read in our schools, we grew up with that legend that कि मोतीलाल नेहरू and जवाहरलाल नेहरू के कपड़े विदेश से धुल के आते थे. I don't know the truth of it. But we grew up listening to that and we never questioned. He still remained Chacha Nehru हमारे लिए. You never thought, no, he's not Chacha, he's a Bidesi Nehru. So how there can't be different parameters, and it doesn't matter till the time he's earning his money and he want to wear 10 lakh a suit, let him wear, and if he's not looting this country. So this is narrative setting.
But since you brought up Nehru, I would like to then jump to the first part of your book, which has been overtly critical of Nehru, his regime, the way he came into power. Recently, there was this huge controversy with newly recruited the actor, female actor Kangana Ranaut, saying that, हमारे पहले प्रधानमंत्री बोस थे. And you have actually touched upon the politics of what happened around then. Do you think when we and all the chronologically what you've covered about Nehru, do you think it was always about considering himself as the regency, so to say, or the king of India more than a prime minister that led him to take calls and make decisions, also in terms of holding back certain ministries with him, whereas he was not really capable of handling that situation? Do you think that that sense of elitism actually did more damage to the country, really, or is he again made a villain just because it suits a certain narrative?
I've said before, and I again say that that Nehru. I will not buy the argument. Some sections say that Nehru was anti-India. He loved this country. He genuinely loved this country, but his ideas were so flawed that even if he loved it, it harmed. So he did everything with good heart and good intention. But unfortunately, everything he touched upon, it just didn't work. He touched Kashmir, it didn't work. And Kashmir, again, I've made a very different point of view in the book. Also, I said that I don't blame Nehru for taking Kashmir to UNSC.
Correct.
India would have been forced. India was not a big power, a strong power. It couldn't have resisted the pressure from the West. Le jana hi padta. What Nehru made the mistake was in his. He called himself in the last Englishman to rule India. Famously, in famous quote is there. He, in order to charm his Mountbattens. There are a lot of stories behind that too, but I won't go into that. Just to charm that and the English circle, he kept that entire administration with them even after independence.
So it was in a way seeking legitimacy from them.
No, he always. In fact, again, I've quoted somewhere, that he comes from England, from one of the Commonwealth meetings, and he tells Sardar Patelji that all the leftist leaders, we should. They were rebelling at that time.
Yeah.
They wanted to free this country. They were planned to create 16 different states out of India. That were leftist communist agenda. So they were all arrested. So he came from the West and said, it's creating very negative image about India in the West. Please chhod dein. At a time when they were openly
threatening
India's integration. At the same time, very next line, and that's what Nehru can be. He can be very, discomforting. He can be also very contradicting.
And
the very next line he says, but we are going very soft on RSS.
Oh.
And we should, ban them even more rigorously. Because if we loosen them, it will send a very wrong message in the West. So he always looked to the West. He was kind of in a very extended version of Manmohan Singh. Manmohan Singh बारे में भी था कि he was more concerned about how his image in Washington rather than in India. India, it didn't matter. People call him Moni Mohan.
Oh.
But that has been told by a Washington Post journalist who came to India, and I quoted him in the book too. I said that that when he wrote an article in Washington Post about Manmohan Singh, Manmohan Singh PMO complained, officially lodged a complaint there. And he was very surprised that this Prime Minister, every day everyone making joke about him in the country, and is okay about that. And one article in Washington Post he got so uneasy about. So he in a personal interview with me, Simon Danier, his book had come, so he had told me that incident. So same was the case with Nehru. But Nehru's entire thing is his basic policy, what I came to know, and that's why I believe that Modi has been very successful. Nehru was always put ideology above the country. He followed ideology first, foreign policy, nation policy, till the time his family didn't come into existence. Jahan family aati thi, family first ho jata tha. Like,
Modi is blamed for ideology first policy for anything that he does.
Modi is not ideology first. I'll give an example for that, for instance, and especially in foreign policy, I will do that. Because in foreign policy, especially, Nehru pushed ideology above nation by refusing to have UNSA seat and said, please give it to China. It was not a personal seat for Nehru. It was a seat for the nation. He had no right.
True.
No right. He should have asked the parliament of this country for that. He ever wanted to. He didn't care. He thought he was the king. Similarly, I mentioned in the book about, Kennedy wanted India to test nuclear tests in 1960, early 1960. Reason being, Kennedy was a Democrat, hardcore Democrat, and he loved India. So he wanted India to do before China does, so that a democracy comes out first in Asia. Very ideological position, a very idealist position. Nehru again didn't accept it. Know-how there, America was willing to give you know-how. Accept
Indira actually went ahead and...
Exactly. So India was a different ballgame completely. So these kind of things, you see that this guy always looked at ideology first. For him, nation can come later. First it should be ideology, which is leftist ideology. When you see Modi, for instance, you see how we handle Ukraine, for instance. We completely went with national self-interest. Ukraine, I must tell you, was extremely sensitive subject for India, because at one side was our American friends, and other side was Russian allies. So ally or friend ki ladai thi, hum kahan hai? And in between was China. I always say I'm a huge critic of this American action in Ukraine, because NATO's action, I must say, because by doing that they pushed Putin on the lap of Xi Jinping. Otherwise Putin was all willing. And early in the early term he openly came out and said in interviews that I want to be part of the Western order. Even Bill Clinton has agreed to that.
Correct.
These Americans,
because it helps him push back the Chinese power.
Right? Because if you see geostrategically also, Russia is very wary of rising China.
Correct.
For Russia has been historically, for Central Asia would have been the backyard.
Correct.
Today it's all China there. So Russians are very crazy about that, very wary about what China is doing. But look what Americans did. They have no clue. They pushed this, who could have been a potential ally against Chinese. They pushed him in the Chinese camp. And look what would have happened had they got Putin. Now, at one side there is Putin, on the other side there is India. China would have been completely encircled. And it would have been amazing, it's a dream come true situation for the Americans. Absolutely. They didn't do it. But coming to this, the pragmatic foreign policy of Modi government, they use this situation so brilliantly that today you see, we have come out brilliantly in that thing. We actually made some money out also by selling oil, by processed oil and everything. So that's how we do. You look at Pakistan, for instance.
Wow.
That's one policy I believe that we don't give Modi enough credit. We have not given Modi credit for that. We always believe that diplomacy is about talking. हम बात नहीं करें तो फिर तो कोई diplomacy हो नहीं है. India is not talking. बात ही नहीं कर रहा है. That's the tendency. And this idea has been pushed forward by diplomats. यदि वो बात नहीं करोगे फिर तो उनका काम खत्म हो जाता है ना.
Correct.
So we have been made to believe that we have to constantly engage with somebody. And that's why we see when Vajpayee was there, Lahore happened. Lahore, so we went to Kargil. Kargil, so immediately we went to Agra. There was not a gap. We didn't even thought for a while, why are we doing this?
True.
Yeah, they took us to Kargil from Lahore. Do we need to talk to him? No. Idea was that we should keep on talking. Because that way we'll engage them. This is constructive engagement. It doesn't happen. With a bully, you can't talk.
You also mentioned, in fact, in the book that, democracies being natural, friends or allies is not something that is natural. Democracies, just by way of being democracies, it doesn't make you friends.
No.
There are interests that, serve the entire purpose. And Modi has in some way looked at those interests which are national and which bring in India the maximum benefit through his foreign policy.
See, foreign policy, Lipika ji, is always about that. All across country. Foreign policy, I don't blame America if American foreign policy, if it reaches out to Pakistan in some way. Because, they need to do it. In some way, it helps their country.
But Subramaniam Swamy keeps criticizing and calling someone Jayashankar butler. Every time there is some new statement that Jayashankar ji makes, he calls him names, and which is very distasteful. But at times there is a huge following of Subramaniam Swamy, which actually also believes that probably what he's saying about the policies with China or with the Americans or any other
Not
country.
necessarily. Not necessarily.
Is it? Okay.
In fact, on social media, Rahul Gandhi has the maximum following right now. Whatever he does, following doesn't mean that. In fact, of late I have been introduced to Instagram. Some of the most inane and stupid things people do, they get maximum followers. So that's not a guarantee, please.
That could land you in trouble.
No, that's how it is, So following is not a guarantee that you are telling the truth or telling the right. Though I must say that I'm a huge admirer of what, Subramaniam Swamy has done. In fact, I have interviewed him a couple of times also.
For the Dharmic cause.
Yes. No, he has done, no doubt. We can't deny that. But I believe in a personal note, and he may not like me for that, if he hears. I hope he doesn't hear that. Sometimes I think I believe that he's a very egoistic person.
And driven by his own notions of people and
ideas. And he's also very judgmental about it. So if things don't go his way, he becomes very judgmental about it.
Right.
And things doesn't necessarily need to go with you. You have played your part. I think he needs to again revisit Gita. And I'm sure he must have read it. He must have forgotten that. And he had done his part and done beautiful part. Now I think
anything more that he does is going to spoil it.
Yes, he's spoiling it, and he should stop being judgmental. I think by calling Jayashankar butler and those kind of things, I think it's below the belt. Someone from his stature, you don't expect it.
True. But since you mentioned also China and Pakistan, we have Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, now Maldives. All of them are our neighbors. They are now neighbors in trouble and troubling us as well in their own ways. Pakistan is imploding in a lot of ways. And we have this Akhand Bharat vision that everybody keeps thinking of and dreaming about. But tell me something, India being in the situation that it is in, someone like Jayashankar has made it much more vocal. Also, I think at times it has also made India look stronger to some people, but also, do you think it at times also offends allies in ways where, because West is so used to seeing India in a very subversive position.
No, I'll tell you something different. I also mentioned that book. Sometimes we believe that the offensive diplomacy, I don't call it offensive, in Modi government diplomacy. I call it very proactive. Offensive diplomacy actually was done by somebody called Jawaharlal Nehru.
Oh, is it?
Yes, and we never realized it. See, we never read it. Offensive diplomacy is what? I'll tell you. American policy for us were very favorable till Nixon came. They actually wanted to engage India. Till Nixon came, everything after Nixon and Kissinger, everything just changed. Before that, you see, there was a different phase. When they wanted to engage India, they wanted to help India. They wanted to come along with India. British were playing spoil sport there. They always done. We somehow never realized it. They हमारे साथ हो रहते थे, and they always bully us and push Americans the other way around.
I think they were called out by Jaishankar this time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but you see how Nehru used to deal at that time.
Correct.
Nehru, when Kennedy was somebody, I'll give one example. I'll give you. Kennedy was extremely charmed by India. The very idea of India used to charm him. That how these poor people, democracy, how it's free, we should help. Very idealist. When he reached, we were invited and he was given a state invitation. And Modi was wowed. Nehru was wowed by that time. And some anecdotes say that Nehru at that time still was more interested in Kennedy's wife than Kennedy, and in fact Kennedy's wife later visited India, and very successful visits he had.
Yeah.
And some of the anecdotes I won't say here was very not flattering about Nehru, the way he was behaving and acting as the Prime Minister of this country, but the way he dealt with Kennedy at that time. Kennedy would come out and help. We were a third world country, except at that time. We were even importing wheat from the West so that our poor people can eat. We were starving. There were famines in this country. It was so badly run. Situation so bad at the time. They will give us wheat, and Nehru will end up saying that please, start behaving well. You guys are capitalists. You guys are crook. You guys are idiots. You don't know. You are not cultured. American people are less cultured. It's all on record. On record, I'm saying. And openly he said. And Ramchand Guha has said about this cultured part and everything, and saying that this come from the British school of education or learning which Nehru had. So this is called offensive diplomacy. You are offending somebody. आप जो आपको खाना दे रहा है, आप उसको offend कर रहे हो.
Correct.
Today, what is there? There is proactive diplomacy. Like whenever somebody is mistreating you, or whether it's the Khalistan issue, we call up and say, please behave yourself. We don't go and give them gyan how to run the democracy. This is none of our business. So we know where to do. But we need slightly today, also is a symbol. What Jaishankar and Modi is doing is symbolizing the new India. It's a very assertive, confident, young India. They will not take it down. So when they see that if somebody, some stupid Khalistani issue in the West is giving us a gyan, or some, democracy report is saying that India is as on par with Afghanistan and Pakistan, they will give it back, and they should give it back, because that is the language they will start accepting after a few years.
Of course.
Till now they have not. See what happened after Nehru and after Indira Gandhi. Suddenly our policy become very apologetic towards Americans. We suddenly become very crazy about them, don't offend them. So they have not seen us in that right. We should be proactive. It's so that who we are. And today, we will very soon be third largest economy in the world. We can afford to be assertive. I'm not saying offensive. We shouldn't be pursuing offending foreign policy, but assertive we should definitely do, and that's what we are doing.
India has also, in a lot of ways, started to set examples when it comes to diplomacy by what happened in COVID, where they went around, giving and sharing vaccines and also food to some countries.
Not just that. The way we are now the lord of in the entire seas. We haven't just a couple of weeks ago we helped Belgian nationals.
Correct.
When all the Somalian pirates were coming. So we are now we are behaving like some sort of power.
Leader.
Some sort of power. We are wherever there is crisis, India manages to take out this, not just their citizens, but also citizens of the entire world, including Americans. So we have now started behaving like one power, unlike the earlier one where, we are crazy about doing things, we don't know what to do. So it's a different assertive India. So those people are smart enough. They have ruled the world. They know that these are the things,
the dynamics are changing.
Yes. So they want to fix us there. So these are kind of the roadblocks which West does.
But then West also wants to show China its place. So shouldn't they be putting their weight behind India? But when it came to Russia, and when India took a stand at the UN, the West wasn't happy. They wanted to India to toe their line of sort. And that's where the whole... so how do you see this eastern side dynamics, geopolitics developing, with China also wanting to retain its position as a power, and India growing and challenging China, and the West still trying to figure out what to do with the whole situation?
No, West want it in certain ways. See, you have to understand. Like there are a lot of braha over, this AUKUS thing, that Japan might also join AUKUS.
Right.
Now look at this, India, West wants India to be part of something. India doesn't want to be. See, India's foreign policy is very independent, autonomous, We don't want to be part of any military alliance. West want us to. West is very happy that aap aage raho, hum aapke piche se gun chalayenge. What they are doing in Ukraine. These idiots Ukrainians, they don't realize it. Leadership, they don't realize that, it is turning into next Afghanistan of Europe. And tomorrow... Look, let Trump come. They will come out. Americans will come out the day Trump comes. And what will Ukraine will left with rubble.
Correct.
A flourishing country will left with just because one idiot didn't realize that we don't fight with your strong neighbor like Putin. All he was saying that don't go and be part of the Western order. That was a simple thing, but he didn't realize. So similarly here, India is
not knowing the military.
India wants to do its own way. India doesn't want to have part of military alliance, but other alliances. So that's why West doesn't want. Like, someone was telling me, I was part of a seminar, and some of the people just met the participant, met the American ambassador, and he was trying to say that, we are pushing India to be in the driving wheel, but India is not ready. Yeah, but India doesn't want to. Why should India take and directly fight with Chinese?
And I think they can't digest the fact that there is a country which is saying that we don't want to go by what you want to see.
Exactly. So they want us to fight with all military alliance, go directly and fight with China, and they will be behind our back. We don't want to do that. Right now, let's be very honest, it's a time for India to grow and become stronger. This is not a time for war. Absolutely. Yeah, if someone puts war, it's fine, fight it.
And that brings me to the question of democracy, because I think at the root of democracy is the fact that till the time we don't strengthen our internal affairs, we will not be able to emerge as the power as we perceive ourselves to be in the next 10 years. But before I go on to that, Utpal, I would like you to talk about Modi kehta hai, maine China ko aankh dikhai, but he's given away our land. And then there is the other side which keeps fighting and identifying how Nehru gave away the land actually. But what is the truth behind all of this? What's happening at the borders? We see this person actually going on fast, saying that Ladakh land is being usurped. What is tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, the truth is that Nehru actually gave 1/3 of Kashmir to China. That truth cannot be denied. The truth is that Nehru couldn't see China invading Tibet when there were every sign suggesting, including the letter from Sardar Patel saying that, be wary because China is going to attack Tibet. We didn't do anything. We just, in fact, Claude Arpe's book, beautiful book, came a few years back. We said that, Tibet was a new territory for China. They have never been there. And it's a very difficult terrain. There were no roads at the time when Mao was army attack. So there were no food for them. And that altitude and everything. But Tibetans eat different kind of food and everything.
Correct.
So it was India which provided rice. So we provided invading Chinese troops rice so that they can invade and be in the Rashtra. That was the kind of policy we had. And by doing that, we eliminated a very peaceful neighborhood called Tibet and got in place a neighborhood which is China, which is always hungry and thirsty about new territories.
Increasing territories.
So these are the facts. Today for the first time, why you see that last 4 years, Indian troops and the Chinese PLA troops, they are in a standoff position. Because no one is buzzing in, no one is giving, we won't give in. That's why. Because for the first time, and we have to tell this truth. So for the first time in 70 years, India has stood up and said, nothing more, no further. Please, yahi ruke.
But then what about the recent accusations?
No, I am coming to that. See, I also believe that they may have taken some territory. I have not been there, but they would have taken. See, that LSE.
These are imaginary
No,
lines.
LSE, they know such line per se. Like Pakistan, where you have created it. So, in the dead of night, some troops can come and occupy a certain portion and be there. So, they would have done, I believe that they have done. That's why Indian troop is also there. They have done that. But we have to credit our government that, the day they did that, we put our soldiers there. We can't guard the entire, it's a huge territory.
Correct.
You can't guard it. The day they realize that this is happening, they put our soldiers there. They are there for the last 4 years. And we should pat our government and say, well done on that. There are certain tactical mistakes we may have done. These are different things. Tactical mistakes, I'll say, that I was reading somewhere that, we had captured a Karas Heights in Ladakh. That was very strategic height from where Indian troops could have seen what Chinese are doing. In one of the talks, we I think vacated that terrace height and came back, and they also vacated few. We shouldn't have done that. So this is tactical mistakes. See, when you fight war, you may make some tactical mistakes. So that like हम river किधर से attack करते, river cross नहीं करना चाहिए. They are tactical errors. But largely what Modi government has done, they have not given anything. They are fighting for every inch. Tactical mistake is tactical mistake. You make error of judgment.
It is actually a little unbelievable, especially when you have a prime minister who ensured that, you not just enter enemy territory, but, bomb the entire area with militants there. So it is a little tough to this thing. But thanks for giving that insight into the current situation. Also, the fact that China is increasing its footprints with our neighbors. It's invested heavily in Pakistan. That's their way. They invested heavily in Sri Lanka.
But we have not talked about that part like the way we are not talking about Taiwan.
Correct.
India is also giving its own way. It's not that China at one time has a very easy way out. Whatever it wanted to do, it used to do. Today, when Indians are now in Taiwan, Indians and Philippines.
Okay.
Yes, we have given BrahMos to Philippines.
Yes.
Yeah. And with Philippines now we openly talk about we are with Philippines. We have openly our government has openly said that. It's not just that they are not doing something. We are also start doing certain things. We are also encircling for the first time. We are encircling. Look, this is also encircling China.
So also tactically moving towards.
But China is not Pakistan. We have to understand that China is a big power. And that's why we say that war is India is very smart enough not to fall for this military kind of alliances and fighting China, because this is time for us to build and be stronger. China can be checkmated in somewhere if we become like 15 trillion or 20 trillion economy. China we are very pragmatic. See, Chinese are very pragmatic people at one place. They know where to do, but they are very smart too. They change their tactic every 2 year, 1 year. Unlike Pakistani, they are stuck. उनका वो कोड स्टक है, वहाँ मुझे कश्मीर करना है, वो वहाँ फंसे हुए हैं, they will get destroyed. Chinese are not that. They will change their policy. The day they will realize that this is not working, they will do that. Look how they change their foreign policy. Chinese were anti-American till 1965.
And then suddenly...
they become the pro-Americans.
Yeah.
So they can surprise you any day. I think the time is for India to grow and become stronger. I think...
So you think if Trump gets back into the US, it's going to be... it will be favorable for India?
I think so. See, there are two sides to this.
Because his China policies were also very...
See, there are two sides. There are two sides. See, nothing comes... everything has, pros and cons,
Right, of course. Especially with Trump when he wakes someday on
but Trump is not a madman. I was that interview, that seminar I was told that Trump's madness has some method.
Okay.
Yes, and you believe, trust me for that, Trump को आप जितना बेवकूफ समझते हो उतना बेवकूफ है नहीं वो. Actually, you see, when Trump was there were less war.
Of course.
He fought less war. He didn't go on nuclear war with North Korea. They found some talking going. So he may look idiotic. He may have a loose tongue, but he is not an idiot. He's very smart.
Of course, you
He's
can't build that kind of an
So
empire.
with India, I'll tell you, strategically, they will be good for India. He will talk sense on Pakistan, he will talk sense on China and all these things. There might be some good news in Ukraine also, from India's point of view. On trade, he might be slightly difficult.
Okay.
Because he's America first. He will try to bring tariffs.
I was about to come to that question.
Yeah.
What happens when the premiers of a particular country become nationalists and country first? So we have Modi here, who's India first. You have if Trump comes back.
Because he
then-
openly talks about raising the
Correct,
the tariff and all these things. So that will go against Indians a bit. But India knows how to find a way. Look, I'll give you an example. When Trump lost, we almost felt like, oh shit, what will happen to our foreign policy, the economy we have created. It has happened for the last many years. When George Bush also went out, we felt the same. When Obama went out, we felt the same thing. Oh, yeah, such a good chemistry he had with Manmohan Singh.
Also
with Modi, he hugged.
But when it came to their own interest, then
Americans are very, they know where to draw the line.
Right.
But with Trump, we may have slight advantage. I always believe that Trump is good for India, I believe.
So now coming back to the part where we talk about democracy and the fact that at the core of democracy is how strong you are internally. And if anybody for today picks up the newspapers, looks at the social media, you'll see that India is in a complete chaos. There are segments where, you'll feel that everything is falling apart. Democracy खतरे में ही नहीं है, kill हो गई है. And there are
one blogger is already dictatorship.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a very famous blogger
Please
who's
don't
been
name
going
him.
around.
Let's not make him
Who's been
more
going
popular than what
around
he is.
saying that it's become a dictatorship.
Yeah.
But in your book, interestingly, you say that it is in fact much more democratic what it was, say, a couple of decades ago.
I think let's play this game. It's a beautiful game. What are the parameters of dictatorship? Freedom of speech.
Correct.
Now, the gentleman who told that India is turning to dictatorship, is he being jailed today? No. So one parameter is gone. Another parameter will be like, your books will be banned. How many books have been banned in the last 10 years?
I can't think of any.
Do you know that more than 30 books were banned by Nehru?
Yeah.
Some say even 50, but
many don't know, but I know it because Anand Raghunathan has many times shared it. But yes. Yeah.
Some say 50 also, but I think more than 3 dozens, more than 30 I'll put there. 30 books. And today we don't even remember last 10 years what a single book which is banned by the person. Now tell me one very big way, like someone like Guljar ji, or someone like people jailed for criticizing Modi. Some big personality. I'm not talking about some Tom, Dick and Jerry, in some state. Oh, Dalia and SF. That's a state producing. Some big person. Do you remember anybody?
No.
Now,
Javed Akhtar has always
always
been
critical.
He's been critical.
And he's always been appreciated in some quarters. There are some people who are... Nehru ji has placed one very big lyricist in jail just because he likened him to Hitler for 2 years and done by Nehru. Now I'll give you another example. That incident I was very that shows about the kind of person he was. I quoted Sitaram Goyalji's book, Hindu. So there was one gentleman, his friend from America came here, and he was covering one protest. उस समय वो जो गौ रक्षा protest बहुत चल रहा था, Save Cow movement. So and especially sadhus were part of it.
I read that part.
So
you must share that part. It's important.
Yeah.
And that was not just the first time he did it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was the first time he did it. But that example I say, so sadhus are protesting. And for Goraksha, we don't kill cows.
Now
everyone has the right. People every day my society people talk about save the dog. So I may have reservation, but I'm part of that.
Correct.
So whatever it is, so this gentleman comes out with his sister Vijaya Lakshmi Pandit, and the moment they are out of the gate, the sadhus look at him and rush towards him. They have a lot of aura. Gandhi was seen a saint. हमारे देश में जब तक स्पिरिचुअलिटी नहीं आएगी ना, रिलीजन नहीं पार्ट हुआ ना, तो मूवमेंट नहीं बनता है. ये जो केजरीवाल भी बने हैं ना, केजरीवाल इसीलिए केजरीवाल बने बिकॉज उनके पीछे अन्ना हजारे का वो जो सेंटलीनेस था. तो यहाँ वो राम मूवमेंट भी देखिए, वो मूवमेंट्स happen when the religion is there, and our religion is different from the Western religion. I must clarify that. So, इस साधु बाबा लोग दौड़ के जाते हैं with folded hand. And the moment कुछ बोल पाते हैं उससे पहले they were slapped right, left, and center. Not just that.
I was shocked to read that.
Yeah, I was shocked. But forget about चलो Prime Minister ने मार दिया भाई. Then his sister comes out and he also slaps right, left, and center. And these people were just left like that. This gentleman, American guy, goes back and meets Sharon Goyle and says, what kind of democracy is this? America and he used very unprecedented. Any fucker would have done that, would have been lost a job by now.
Correct.
The president would have lost a job. But here, no one talked about it. So that was the kind of, now this is not a democrat. You have a right to protest. But did you find anywhere any question about that? Because system में उन्हीं का था, गवर्नमेंट में उन्हीं की थी. आज का प्रॉब्लम ये है कि गवर्नमेंट के सिस्टम अभी इनका नहीं है. So that's why you'll see a lot of debate about dictatorship and all this thing. Because as the famous dialogue in that Kashmir file says that सरकार तो उनकी सिस्टम अभी इनका सिस्टम देश कंट्रोल.
In fact, the system of diplomacy, where the diplomats are concerned or where bureaucrats are concerned, it's still largely in the hands of absolutely. So, when there is so much of chaos that is projected through the social media, and you say that there is free speech, nobody has been jailed, and there are still instances where people suggest that EVMs जो है, I mean, Modi is misusing his own machinery to put people behind bars. They are rushing the ED behind those people, those opponents who they fear, and that all this entire exercise happening of sending EDs and hacking EVMs comes naturally. So EVMs, I do understand that ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि जब कांग्रेस जीते तो EVM ठीक चल रहा था.
I talked to Qureshi Saab, who is not a fan of Modi. He's very critical of Modi. And I asked him categorically, do you think that EVM can be hacked? And he said, no, it cannot be.
It cannot be.
So I think that is something even like no one really agrees.
But tell me something about this ED and CBI thing, which actually projected as going after your opponents in order
to. But it is new.
Thank you for saying that. I think every government does that, right?
They extended up the state government. That's something I have my own reservation about state power. I was reservation about politicians, and I believe that they misuse it. There is a washing machine where when ruling party can clean any dirt. They do that. So I've not. But my point is, these opponents, those who talk about today, where they're talking about the same intensity in 2004 to 14, they were not. That is the double standard. Huh? I believe that is misused. It is misused. It will always be misused. Do you think that Trump is not being targeted in the West, in America? He is being targeted. He will be targeted. There's a political power. It's a great power. Power
stake. The movement was nothing but targeting.
Exactly. Exactly. But my problem is that you were silent at some point of time, and today you suddenly wake up and say, "Oh no, democracy खतरे में है भैया आप क्या आज जागे हो? Weren't you there when Indira Gandhi used all the resources of power? Rajiv Gandhi used to do it so openly. So everyone has done it, including even Vajpayee had done it. Outlook office was raided. I'll openly say that. So it has happened, and it will always happen. Tomorrow, if Congress government also comes, it will do the same thing. This is how power works. This is how power operates. You have power, you will misuse it, and it's not the first time. And it's not. And with knowledge of history and some understanding, I can say that. Still, it's not being used.
Not as extreme as it
exactly. It's not used in a very tyrannical way, the way it was used in the past in some phases of our post-independence era. There is still some method to this madness.
But Utpal, this brings me to also ask you a question that हम जब डेमोक्रेसी की बात करते हैं तो नेचुरली सबसे पहले सारी चीज़ें भूल के हम डेमोक्रेसी और अपने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में सेक्युलर की बात करते हैं और आपने इस किताब में यू हैड मेंशन्ड व्हाट हैपेंड एक्चुअली द मिस्टेक दैट वी कमिटेड वी नेचुरली इन 1947 came into being as a Hindu nation
Yeah.
And then, in fact, Dr. Ambedkar was against this aspect of including secular
Secularism.
in the
Yeah.
constitution. So, talk a little bit about that.
There was intense debate in Constitutional Assembly about that, whether we should put secularism or not, and it was decided with some sense of understanding that why we shouldn't put it, and the reason for that. See, what is secular? Secularism is as Desai Deepak says in his book, it's a Western concept, it's a Christian concept. In the West, there was state and the papacy. They fought, so there were two different pillars, and that's why they have to bring in. We had papacy will look after the religious part, and state will look after the secular part. In India, where is the papacy?
Correct.
There's nothing. So the very idea of secularism is non-Indic. It doesn't work, and that's why you see it has been misused, and that's why, in fact, ironically, in fact, I must say that that's how the divine manifestation happened. Secularism came into constitution at a time when constitution was defunct, and the emergency time. So that shows, but then that again shows that how politicians can be so mischievously opportunistic.
True.
When emergency was lifted out, none of the political party came out and said no, remove it, including BJP. BJP were not there, but they could have worked out. BJP has talked about pseudo-secularism and everything, but it remained where it suited them. And what has secularism become? Secularism is today nothing but pro-minoritism.
Correct.
And Manmohan Singh, one thing he did, he put that secularism thing in a very incorrect notion. When he said that the secularism is minority have the first right to nation's resources.
True.
No, but then
That too in the parliament.
exactly
Prime Minister's
exactly in
statement.
2008 or 9. Now that can't be secularism. Now secularism, and when you talk about, I'm all for secularism. Secularism will come very nicely with Sanatana Dharma, because we are inborn secular. But secularism karna to karo, Hindus will support. Then what are you doing in the temple business? More than 1 lakh temples are being controlled by state. Why? It is secular. In fact, even the communist government of Kerala is today controlling more than 3,000 temples. Communism, which says that they have nothing to do with religion. Religion is opium.
They are extracting money and land from mandir. And,
No, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. In fact, most of the temples, 36,000 plus temples, are being controlled in Tamil Nadu, followed by Karnataka. And Karnataka mein to BJP government bhi aayi thi. They could have removed. That's why I'm saying that something are beyond politics. Hindu interest and BJP can be different. We need to put that line somewhere down the line, and then so. But it's also helping the secular cause, so-called secular cause. And Sir Ramesh, he has done a great service in Tamil Nadu on temple this thing, and his research says that temple has a lot of properties. Temple traditional properties, those are leased out. So now today state leases them out. So according to his research, say that only 1% of the actual amount which has come to state treasury is coming back. So 90%, 99% is taken by the corrupt element. How is it helping the state?
Correct.
Now वो Hindu society को help कर रहा है, now secular state को कर रहा है. It's helping the corrupt. So why do we need it? And why do we need it in a secular state like India? Waqf Act of 2009. Now 1995, sorry. That Waqf Act क्या है? हम इस जगह बैठे हुए हैं. It's very scary law, by the way.
सेक्शन
हाँ ये हमारा है, वो रुमाल वाला ही बिजनेस है. यहाँ भी डाल देंगे तो वो बोले ये हमारा उठिए मैडम. So it's like that, and that's been passed. And the irony of that law is that if they come and say this land is Waqf land, so you have to prove
that it is not true.
They will not prove it. You have to prove no sir, this is our land,
and
and where will go and prove? Find the judgment in a Waqf board.
That is exactly what is happening in Jammu as well. No, they've usurped a lot of land, saying that.
Delhi mein 78%, 77% of the territory is Waqf land. They've claimed everything. 77, including our High Court, is Waqf land.
But how do you think this can be stopped? Do you think in the current?
See, I think largely what is happening. This is all. This is racket. Okay. I can honestly say that. It's like that. For instance, what will happen? Like if they claim this territory, given the great state of our judiciary is, अब आप क्या बोलोगे यार ये केस तो 10 साल चलेगा, 10 साल में लड़ पाऊंगी, क्या करूंगी, कितने पैसे खर्च होंगे, अब उसका क्या रिजल्ट आएगा, गॉड डू. देन सम ऑफ द जेंटलमैन विल कम, उनका कोई बंदा आएगा आपसे बात करें, अच्छा ऐसा कीजिए 1 लाख आप दीजिए, हम वापस ले लें.
मांडवली कर लेते हैं.
तो 1 लाख लेके गया वो. This is now a racket to make money. They claim anything, including one temple in Tamil Nadu, which is 1500 year old. 1500 year old temple. So before the birth of Islam, the temple was there, and now they claim to be Waqf land because they want money. So they can claim anything. Where I live, they can ask. So yeah.
But that's a bigger problem for us Hindus, Utpal, because, as you very correctly stated, and we all know that Hindu, by his very nature, is secular. We are born and brought up in a society which is secular. And we are the most, I would not say we are argumentative Indians, but we are argumentative Hindus, because it's the Hindu community which gets divided very easily. One, on the basis of whether we should go nationalistic or we need to become, continue the older way. So the biggest or the harshest pushback comes from Hindus. Then how do you see this entire vision that Modi is trying to create through, consolidating his Hindu votes? How do you see his vision really taking shape, where he knows that he has a juggernaut of a problem from the community that he thinks will favor him because he has given them Ayodhya. He is made Kashi Grandiose. He is doing lot more work in restoration of temples that you've also covered here. How do you see that happen,
See, I think...
because see, the Muslim vote is consolidated. वो एक तरफा जाता है. And everybody knows that, Aaj, in fact, I was listening to a podcast, I'll not name, it's a very popular ex-journalist, जहाँ जफर शरीश वाला जी बोल रहे थे कि हम मुसलमानों का वोट जो है, वो जो यूज़ करते हैं हमें, वो भी हमारे लिए कुछ नहीं करते, और हम दूसरी तरफ वोट इसलिए नहीं डालते ये सोच के कि ये तो हिंदूवादी हैं. So how do you see this problem being addressed in with time?
See, this problem is very difficult. There's no easiest way out of this. Because the very nature of Hindu society is such. See, I'll be very honest to say that one of the strength of Hindu society is what? Sanatan Dharma, I'll say, is what? There is no other person here. Every religion has the other, hum or other. So, उसमें क्या होता है? The moment other is there, then you are one. इसमें हमारे other कोई है ही नहीं ना.
But doesn't casteism, which the Brahminical society is accused of, isn't that also a way of suggesting that ये other है within the Hindu community? And caste plays a very important role. आप जिस क्षेत्र से हैं बिहार में, I think one of the most prominent states, apart from, say, UP and some other states, where caste plays a very important role in deciding who they are going to allow to govern.
No, I should help you. I was long back, some 25 years back, I was giving a journalism school में interview था मेरा. So this was the question asked.
Acha.
About which state has the maximum caste problem. And I thought, being a Bihari, I thought, Bihar, or maybe UP. And the gentleman said and laughed. I said, Tamil Nadu.
Are you serious? Ah, yeah. Okay.
So Tamil Nadu is the maximum this thing. So that problem is there. In fact, today I must tell you something. I'm also reading quite deeply about Bengali society. And especially after what happened in Marij-Jhapi massacre towards 1979. I believe the Bengali society is equally more rigorously into the caste system than even other societies are. Tell me one so-called lower caste communist leader from Bengal. One.
But none of the communists are low caste. They're all from the Brahmin community, if you look at it.
Exactly. And they all mostly came from Tamil Nadu, from Bengal.
Yes.
Why? They're all from Brahmin. That's a stronghold.
So communists are the Brahmin.
They are the Brahmins, yes. Now we talk about that. And they control the narrative so strongly that for 70 years no one even asked questions. But what about you? You are teaching everyone about Brahminism and Brahminical this thing, but what about you? Who are you? Interestingly, all their name will be Ram and Krishna and all these things.
Yeah.
So, and they all will be kind of, they don't believe in God. So, that's everything. Coming to your question, see, what is happening right now is more of a reaction. Hindu society will never be a monolithic one, and should never be also.
And we'll also not find homogeneity, that's true.
Homogeneity is not the nature's way of life. Nature is different. Like even when the planets were born, they were more diverse than what is today. We, in the name of cultivation, we homogenize that, and that's why we see a lot of problem. Same with cultures. Different culture is always a sign of flourishing culture, ecosystem. One, like you don't want one color, wear one color every day, green or saffron or whatever you want to wear. Will you wear? No, you want to have different one. See, your sari has so many different colors. So that's more natural state. So, and since this religion, this is the only religion, actually also Pantha, this is the only in the Sanatan Dharma. It's come from the nature. It is immersed. There is no God. So it will have the natural flavor to it. It will have a different diversity, but there will be some innate unity into that. The innate unity is fine. What is happening in the last 70 years, and before that 1,000 years of onslaught, now Hindus have started realizing that if they also don't gang up, I'm using it in a very positive way, gang up, and they will be finished.
Quite like some of the biggest civilizations.
Yes.
So it's become a civilizational war.
It has always been that we somehow get this thing, and I believe that I'm all for Huntington's term, that it has always been a civilizational war. It has always been. We somehow don't say, well, it sounds very politically incorrect to us. Civilizational war. So what is happening?
Probably also because in democracies you don't really think of it from a civilizational point of view, do you?
No, I think I'll defer it. I think we have been made to believe that way for the last 70 years. Our education system is such that anything dharmic, anything or anything civilizational becomes very communal. So we don't want to talk about that. And like you were there when the book was launched. So I know one of the ambassadors who were there, Rajiv, what was the name? One of the panelists was there, and he was ambassador, former ambassador, and he said that he wouldn't have expected dharma and diplomacy to be part of the tagline 20 years ago. So this was such thing. Dharma is not about religion in our context. Dharma is more like duty, doing the right thing the right way.
Correct.
Even that we completely abandoned. We thought it was something untouchable stuff. It is. So it happened that. But coming to your larger question, the thing is, what is happening that the Hindu realize that if you don't come together, if they don't become Hindu in a bit of an Abrahamanized way, then they will be completely uprooted. And look what happened. 2014 was the first time one myth was shattered. There was a myth in a political circle that in India government cannot be formed without Muslim support.
And
no
Modi
one can form that government. Modi broke that. When it was broken, some people say that exceptions sometimes do happen. Then 2029 happened. So that was, I think, sometimes people believe that maybe things can happen 2 times. So that's why 2044 is very important. If that myth is broken, then you will see a lot of things. And I suspect.
I think it has already started to happen if conversations in a certain community have started.
It is happening, but I suppose that's why 2024 is important. The moment 2024, if 2024 also goes the way it has gone in the past 2 terms, you will see even Muslim votes changing, shifting gears. Well, they will realize that they were put in a certain kind of position. It doesn't matter. They're irrelevant in today's scheme of things. They will start thinking about that. And they were talking about that for 15% vote bank going to one party. It might start shifting the other way. There is already some talk happening, but they still believe, they want to believe that, maybe 2024, if 2004 Vajpayee can lose, maybe he can also lose. So they still want to believe it. But if this happens, you will see some change there. And Hindus, Hindu assertion will be there because it has not peaked. So you'll see more consolidation of Hindus beyond and across party lines because we have not peaked yet. We have not peaked yet. The country has not peaked yet.
Of course, we've made
so maybe
the opposition to wear the sacred threads in order to claim that they are Hindu Brahmins. But in democracy, then with so much of chaos, and I think no other country faces such a chaos as we do. What is it? And before we move on to the dharma aspect, what is it that continues to work for India and for the current regime?
It's one thing. Only one thing works for India, and you remove that and the entire equation falters. It is Bharat. This country is democratic, precisely what it is Bharat. This is secular, precisely what it is Bharat. This is liberal, plural. You put any terminologies, positive one, it's Bharat.
Okay.
And I'll tell you an example for that, And that's why, someone like Kennedy was so fascinated by India. With that much of poverty and that much of illiteracy at the time, 1947, only India could have gone for a participative democracy. When even women were allowed to vote. West took hundreds of years to allow the women, despite all the progress.
That too was suffrage
Because
movement.
yes,
Yeah.
the blacks got in 1960s. We didn't too. We just went at one whole hog and we were successful. Why? Because it didn't contradict your inner sensibilities.
True.
They were always like that, and they might not have voted, but they deliberated and debated in their own way. So that was in the DNA, and the DNA is Bharat. And that's why I kept the name of the book Bharat Rising,
Yes.
and not India Rising.
Yes.
Because, we need to go back to our roots. Bharat also suggests that, that it's a civilizational state. It is only civilization, which is the Bronze Age civilization, which is not in museum today. All other side museum.
Survive, yeah.
This is only surviving. And we need to cherish it. We need to really, showcase it to the world with pride and with confidence. And I think we have started doing that.
You started doing that. And since you talk about civilization and going back to roots, this segment, and the last part of our conversation, Utpal, is about your own roots. I believe that if anybody who's listening to this podcast ever, out of the 10 people who listen, even if one decides to go back and connect with roots, because I think that is exactly what has happened in the last 10 years. The ability to instill that curiosity about going and finding your roots in Bharat has what actually started to make the significant changes that we are seeing in the country.
Yeah.
But at the minutest level, at a unit level of a human being, you hail from Bihar, and you are you connected with your village? Are you connected with your? How closely are you connected with your community? And
I've started going now. Also, I'll be very honest. In between there was the nature of job is such that disconnect was there. I had to go once a year, sometime when 2 weeks, slightly more than that. But now, since I have a kid who is 5 or 6 year old, I have now plan to go twice. One in Holi, another is Chhath. Chhath is a big festival. So since I want him to be rooted in his culture. In Delhi, he might not understand what Chhath is all about. Though it started becoming big now, thanks to vote bank politics and everything. But the real essence, the real meaning of it will come there. And also that who he is, without being, constrained by regionalism or caste identities, but to get that idea of from where he came up, who he is. And that question everyone asks. So I've now started going there. I was there in Holi. I plan to go now in November in Chhath. So yeah, I do that. And that also keeps me, helps me also, invent myself in some way.
Nice. This is something very similar to and finds resonance from what I also practice for the last couple of years. But coming to the point of how academia has actually, uprooted us, and they are to be blamed a lot from that for that disconnect that has come in between us and our roots. Our previous generation was still somewhere, connected. I think we were the first generation to actually completely get disconnected with our roots. And then it is all the more important, being a parent, for us to go back to our roots and find them and, get our children into it. Because till the time you don't get a sense of your own identity, you'll never be able to build that confidence.
I slightly, differ in some way. You're right what you're saying on the roots part. But I'll say that today's generation, our previous generation, they were rooted in the physical sense, but mentally they were absolutely uprooted. They had no idea mentally who they were.
Actually,
Yes,
you're right.
yes, they were rooted, but physically rooted. With us, what happened? We physically also got uprooted. Someone like I came from Bihar, so I was also physically uprooted, and mentally we are uprooted anyway because Nehruvian ecosystem created completely this thing. This new generation, that's where my endeavor is, and that's what our endeavor should be. I'm sure when you are doing that, is to now bring back our next generation not just physically rooted to their civilizational moorings, but also mentally.
True.
And it is. I'll give you an example of that. How uprooted we have been. Now we always. I was very fascinated by a child. By Newton's discovery of gravity. Oh, सोए हुए थे बेचारे and एक apple गिर गया. Now, do you know that in this University of Manchester has uploaded? It's still there. आप उसका Manchester का website पे जाएंगे तो at least last month I saw that. They have a paper. They have a paper which said that the Newton's idea was actually churrowed. They've stolen from India, Kerala school.
In fact, it is
How
the
many-
first time they gave
how
credit
many of
for
us-
the several ideas that they've stolen.
Exactly. But I'm saying that this is very fundamental. Like, Newtonian entire scientific theory is based on this.
Correct.
Before, that Einstein came, Newton was the main figure in scientific community, and he held for almost two centuries. Now his basic premise is stolen from India, and it is being researched and put into the research by none other than the Western University. And still today you ask and it was done in 2007. आज से 17 साल पहले हुआ. Ask any gentleman, I will bet 99% will say no, it's Newton. They still don't know. Have we owned up? We should have by now owned up all our NCRT textbooks. Should have talked about, this is Kerala school, was all about that science. Mathematics. What West had done, all credit they give the Western to do Arabs. And you read Arab, this thing, they talk about Hindi. So they give us credit, but in that translation, that is lost. So West will say, oh, we got from Arab. But did Arab do that in the sense? No, but yeah, they have no wherewithal, they have no idea. It was only in the after,
For the people for whom the earth is flat, obviously it's very difficult for them to be
to ever think
coming
about
up
that,
with ideas,
the kind of things which Aryabhat said and about all these things. So my point is, we are so uprooted, and we still are in some way that some things which now West are telling us. And we are now trying to we're not accepting it in our totality. We should have accepted this thing by now. We should have tom-tom the world and said, yeah, this Newton guy is a fraud, and this is our theory, and this is just the beginning of it.
And also that being dharmic doesn't make you down. That is what is being portrayed.
Exactly. Being dharmic.
See, dhoti pehen ke jo hai puja karte hain, what will they give the world?
I'll tell you why dharmic will not make you dumb. The reason for that, because dharmic makes you contest the idea of commandment. So you don't take orders. You don't take so these are the 10 things you do and you will get this award, or the other 10 things you have to do and you will get heaven and hell. In India, there is no such thing. The dharmic person are seekers. They have to go and find the truth of their own. That's why we have got 33 crore gods also, and I don't believe that. That's more of a this thing. But okay, let it be 33 crore gods also. Every individual can have their own god. You can have your own. I can have my own, and that's the freedom, and that's the real individualistic freedom we want to have. So that's what we find in our Indic framework.
No, thank you so much, Utpal. It's been absolutely, thrilling to have this conversation with you. You know how I love the subject and I love to talk about it. And thank you for making time today. I was not very sure if you would have been able to, set aside some time, but I'm so glad you did.
No, I love.
And we had this conversation, and I hope मैं एक आपके जो एक particular standard है उसमें fit बैठी हूँ as a podcaster. But
no, I must say that the questions I got very challenging ones because they were different ones and what generally I encounter. So thank you. I really mean
thank
that.
you.